Hey guys, Rich got Bulletproof Saws and Bluesaws.com. I got the microphone over here. I don't know how it's going to work out. Try not to hit anything. Been a busy day, so my head's kind of swimming. Bunch of phone calls, bunch of deliveries, bunch of pretty much everything that you could do in a day, I did today. So I'm a little bit kind of done for the day, to be honest with you. I'm tired. I'm done. Too many things going on. I just need to relax. But I've been wanting to run these two saws all day. I got a couple pair of G366s. Uh, muff mod, intake boot, little things, and there was things I didn't tell you in the video the other day that I was certain I was going to tell you in this one, but I'm not sure that I'm gonna, just because I don't think I can remember them now, and I didn't write them down like I should. I should probably write down a cue card for what I want to talk to you guys about. One of the things is I think I got this orange one running pretty okay. Might need a little final tuning, but it's running pretty okay. The chain I've been using for a little bit. It's a new chain we're thinking about stocking, and I'm playing with it. And initially, I like it, but I haven't ground on it yet. I haven't filed on it yet, so I'm not going to say anything about that chain yet. But I do think I like it. Blue one, I got a GB bar on. They're the best bars made. You could buy a Canon. They may be better. I don't know. I don't run Canon bars, but they're also 3 times the price. But for the money, I got Sumora, I got Sugi's. The GBs are the most solid bars made, and I'm happy to have them, so I'm going to be running one here today. However, the chain on it, I hit with the grinder last night, and I don't know if I did a good job or not. So I ran this saw real quick a minute ago. I made 2 quick cuts. It seemed okay, like I didn't do a horrible job, but again, with the grinder, I'm always better filing than grinding, and different manufacturers change. 25 degrees, 30 degrees, bevel on the grinder, no bevel on the grinder. I'm not the grinder expert. I think I got it decent enough. What am I going to tell you? I don't think I have this saw quite right yet, and I'm going to tell you what. When you're doing the intake boots on these guys, be super duper careful of how that intake boot is oriented. You know, on a 660, a 440, a lot of saws, you get that little nib on the boot straight down, it lines up perfect, no problem. The 366s and the ms361s have, you have your round intake boot, and then you got a little tiny circle, I don't know how to show you this, off to the side that your impulse is coming through. You don't get that intake boot the exact perfect right way, it'll block your impulse. I don't like the way these do impulse. I'd rather have a separate little, hose for impulse. That's not the, I can convert them, but I'm not converting them. So with that, if you're a little bit off, you could block that impulse and it doesn't run right. I thought maybe that's what I did, so I ripped this one apart, and you pretty much have to pull the cylinder to adjust the intake boot. Yeah, you can loosen the clamp and try to move it, but you might as well just pull the cylinder and do it. So I pulled the cylinder, got it lined up perfect. I even went so far as to switch out the carb with the blue one that I've been running that has ran flawless. Starts every time, no problem with it whatsoever. But what I think is going on with this is a timing issue, and I'll tell you why. This thing has started backwards for me, I think 3 times in the last, yeah, and I haven't ran it a lot. It's not like I'm cutting wood with it. It's ran backwards for me, or started backwards for me a couple times. What I'm going to tell you about the timing on these and the crankshaft keyway and the flywheel key and all that stuff, I call them an AM PM flywheel key. The reason I say that is because if you think of the hands of the clock, you got, 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock to really figure out where you want to put it. There's a lot of play in them. The other thing I'm going to tell you guys, if you're going to mess around with these, I told you in the other video, check your flywheel, make sure it's tight. Maybe don't pull it off. Maybe just make sure it's tight, not moving, because if you pull it off, you have the option to advance the timing, which I did that on this. Didn't work out good. I wish I videoed it because when it was running, bump, 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 like it had like an odd out of time sound. All right, I know I did something wrong with the timing, so I retarded it all the way as far as I could. And again, you know, on the dial of a clock, I can advance and retard that timing more than any other Farmertec saw that I'm aware of. Like, there's a lot of play in there. With that, you need to make sure that you have the right keys for these. 660 key doesn't fit. These keys are kind of a double thick key, so it's a different key than a 440, a 660. Any of your Huskies, it's just a different key. I have one left, and I put it somewhere real safe because I knew I might need it, and I sure don't know where I put it, so that's a whole nother story. But anyhow, I think I'm going to have to maybe advance the timing on this because it's not right, although it seems like a fuel issue. So what I did on this one is I pressure tested pull the fuel filter off, pressure test to the carb. No leak in the line, no leak at the carb, the needle seating, all that stuff, verified that. Like, all right, let me try this the other way because I did replace the tank vent. So what I went and did was I took from the carb, pressure tested into the tank with the cap on. Well, it's holding pressure. I seem to be okay with this. It still seems like a fuel issue. The other thing is these carbs want to be adjusted. A lot of the steel saws, if you start at 1 and 1, one turn out on the low, one turn out on the high, you're going to be good. These seem to be 2 turns out on the low and wherever you're at on the high. And I guess I'm forcing what I want to be on the saw, and every saw is different. You tune them a little bit differently, but there's some basic things that seem to work on a lot of saws, and it's a little bit different. So I swapped the carb on this with the known good carb, and I adjusted that intake boot because when I pushed the carb against it, it sealed up. It looked like it was okay, but I was like, you know, it could move a little bit out that way. Looking at it from the behind, I can move it out that way a little bit, so I did that. Started up, started wonderful, ran wonderful, but it gives me little goofy issues. So I'm not sure. And here's another thing. A lot of times I keep these saws inside where there's a wood stove going so they're not out in the cold. And right now it's probably 30 degrees out. So I left them outside and they seemed a little cold-blooded to start, whereas if you take them from somewhere warm and move them and take them outside and start them, they start right up, which is kind of interesting to me. So got a couple little things that I'm diagnosing, and these are fiddlier. They're not as bad as they were 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years ago, Bluesaws didn't carry them because we just had so many little problems with them. They've gotten significantly better, and I guess because I'm goofing around with these a little bit and doing things and testing things out, because I want to make a video and give you guys some information that maybe I'm playing around more than I should, but little tiny issues. I don't think I have the orange one leaned out enough. I think the carb's pretty okay on this, but I got a fuel issue, a timing issue. Maybe it's a coil, although I don't have a lot of Farmertec coils fail. Maybe guys do, but in general, for the amount of saws we sell, I don't have a lot of coils fail. So I'm going to start these guys up. I'm going to make a couple cuts on this junk wood that I'm trying to get rid of slowly but surely. I got a piece of oak over here. Maybe if I got time and I think it's starting to hail, maybe I'll try to run them in that oak too. Again, I'm not 100% on this chain. I don't think I did a bad job on it. It's not perfect in that chain I've been running, but I like it. So I don't know, I'll stop talking and move some stuff around and start up a saw for you. Actually, you know what I'll do is I think I'll start them when you guys are watching so you can see some of the things that I'm going through. They've been sitting for a little while now. We still have microphone? Yeah, we still have microphone. I'll see. This one, I would think it's cold by now. It's freezing out. It's been sitting for a while because I got a couple phone calls in between wanting to do this. So I'm going to choke it. Well, I think she has a few more RPMs in her, but I'll fiddle with that a little bit. And this, again, the saw's not broken in, so I probably shouldn't be going crazy on it for what that matters. The other thing I meant to tell you guys was that orange saw actually had a bad oiler in it. Didn't diagnose it, swapped the oiler out. And one of the things that you guys need to know is it seems like Farmertec consolidated the SKUs on the 460 and the 361. It's the same oiler. The 460 pumps a few cc's more of oil than the 361 does. I got questions in the Farmertec on that's fine if you combine them and only sell one oiler for both the 460 and the 361, as long as it's the 460 oiler. So having a bad oiler, haven't had a bad oiler in a while, so I was kind of surprised and I didn't even look at it. I just swapped it out with one labeled as a 361 oiler. It's putting out oiler, and I compared it to a 440 oiler. There's manufacturing differences. Who's the vendor for this oiler, this oiler, this oiler, who's making them? There's a bunch of differences, and I don't want to make this a long video, but I'm going to have to. That's what frustrates OEM guys, is the lack of consistency. If you have one oiler in that and a different oiler in that, one cylinder in that and a slightly different one in that, I understand why it makes people mental. If you're not a clone saw guy and you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to have a problem. It's more difficult because you have a lot more moving parts. And I get it. The OEM guys don't want to put up with that. That's why a lot of the OEM guys fail with clone saws. They can mod them, they can change them, and they can make them into what they want. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's a skill level. It's a knowing what you're getting, and when you see it, what it is, whether it's going to work for you or not. Fast forward to the oiler. The new 360 labeled 361 oilers from Farmertec look exactly like the 460 oiler, not the 361 oiler that came out of the saw. Not sure what that means yet, but it's oiling good. Don't know the exact amount of fluid it's pumping, but it seems adequate. I'd have to put it in a bigger saw with a bigger bar to see if it could oil, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So it's just something to be aware of, that the SKUs combined. I don't know if this is going to be a permanent thing, a temporary thing. Again, moving target, like all clone saws are, but it's something you guys need to know. I'm hoping that they use the 460 oiler, and the 460 oiler is the 460 oiler, and it's going in the 361, because too much oil's fine, I can turn it down. I'll start up that blue saw because I feel like this is way too long of a video for you guys. So let me see if I can get it started. And maybe you guys are going to hear what the problem is and have some ideas for me. No decomps on these saws. Fuel lines are good. I don't know what else to look at this point. Oh, this is going to make a liar out of me. That's kind of the stuff. Flares out real quick, so we're on high idle. I'm going to put it back to choke because that's what it seems like. Almost seems like we're not getting fuel, and I can't figure out why. Replace the tank vent on this. I don't see how a saw could have a tank vent that all of a sudden is creating suction that quickly. If you guys don't know, you have a failed tank vent, and on certain saws, it's funny with these flippy caps. I won't bet anything on a flippy cap. But on a regular screw cap, if you have a tank vent that's creating suction in the tank, sometimes when, the saw will go lean on you. So what you could do is, if you grab the saw right away when it does that, and if you open up the cap and then it runs, maybe I have a tank vent issue. But what you could also do is, when you first open that up, if you listen, you hear suction, and you're like, oh, I know what this is. Anyhow, I'm going to put it back on choke because that's how it seems like I got this started before. And you would think I'd be flooding it, which maybe I am. Out of nowhere, which I swear I heard a little bit of suction there. And I replaced this tank vent and I tested it. It starts right back up now. That'll be interesting. Should probably start in reverse. You know where to go with this. These are funny between the high, the low, and the LA. And I was hoping I had, and I got to look a little bit harder. These are both HLIC carbs. The one I took out of this is an HLIC carb, but it was doing kind of the exact same stuff. Known good carb running in another saw, absolutely perfect. So we're going to rule out the carb. I don't even think I should start turning on it. I could swap out the plug, but I have very few plugs fail. Granted, it's Farmertec NGK. That's a whole nother thing because I have NGKs from Napa from Japan that are labeled differently and marked differently than my NGK bulk 25 packs, and that's a whole nother story. But I could swap out that plug. Maybe it's that plug. God, that doesn't seem. I've ran this saw a little bit, and I would think if it was the coil, it would be more consistent, but I'll swap out that coil. I'm going to check out that flywheel and see the timing, because it seemed like once I got it warmed up, it ran fine, restarted fine. I'll give it a few more tries here, guys. I'm not even going to touch it. I'm going to choke it again because it really seems like it's not getting fuel. Huh. Idle. I bet I can cut with this right now, and then it'll be fine. Not sure, guys. Maybe I'm not thinking of something easy and obvious. Maybe I'm just brain dead today. Kind of an odd thing. Thinking it's not the carb, not the fuel lines. It's not like there's a little weird hole in it or something like that. Not an air leak. These flippy caps are really hard to listen to for suction. Again, I'm pretty sure that tank vent was good. I don't know. I'm not quite right on this one yet, and I got a little more to do. The other thing that was frustrating to me, and I have to let these sit out here in the cold, and I'll have to look and see how they started. Usually I expect the saw to start, especially a new Farmertec saw, 440, 460, whatever. I put it on choke, 1, 2, 3 pulls. When it's cold out, when it's hot, whatever. High idle, 1, 2 pulls, 5 pulls, I'm started. You're pulling on a saw 6, 8, 10 times, you're flooding it. You guys with 660s know this. So these seemed like they started a little bit harder cold, so I'm going to leave them outside, let them get nice and cold, see how they start again, and try to figure out where I'm going wrong here. Maybe I'm going to replace the coil. What's nice is, we sell saws straight out of the box from China. That's your cheapest option. Then we do a pre-flake service, which we actually go through the saws, and it's funny. I've gotten 44s before with the wrong carb on it. It was a carb I know wasn't going to work, but because that person got the pre-flake, I swapped out the carb. So that little bit of extra money, yeah, it sucks spending the extra money, but it also takes me time to do it. And I swap the parts out beforehand. Otherwise, you get a saw shipped to you, you go through the problem with it, and you diagnose it, and I'll ship you whatever parts you need. That's part of the warranty, but I'm not there to fix it. So that's one of the things for the pre-flight, and these are guys that are getting a little bit of work. So this one will not be going out tomorrow. That one, with a little bit of tuning, a little more playing, that one probably will be. I don't know what else to say. I'm not sure what's going on here, guys. Start back up. Boy, I hope we're still recording. It's a long video. Let me throw you on high idle. You don't like that. Fuel in the tank. guys. I know this is thrilling. Alright, I'm not going to do this to you guys because I'm diagnosing while I'm making a video. Boy, that sure makes it look like a tank vent, doesn't it? And I'd have sworn that one was good, but